a small amount. That's what I tell my wife. I've taught you everything you know, but not everything.
Hey, look at that. Is everything just going to come on and work this morning?
Oh, give me a break.
That's just not.
There we
go. That's working.
Conspiracy Bob.
Hey, Bob's here. We can start. We've been waiting for you.
It got to the point, we were laughing so hard, it got to the point, Nita said we should sign them. We were going to sign all the artists that weren't there. It was a learning curve.
You folks are too dark.
Yes. There's a new contest going on.
Yeah.
There's a new contest
What
going on.
happens to the dark side?
What was the name of the story? What artist?
I think this is
You got
Is that what it is?
well.
I should know, shouldn't I? Am I recording? Oh my God! Now everybody knows I don't know.
Careful, you don't have your identity card anymore, or whatever. It
Oh,
is.
that's right. I'm John Smith.
There is a Best Buy in Hermosillo.
I thought there was, yeah. And from what I think I've been in there, and what I remember thinking of it was that it was a smaller store than I would expect, but larger than you'd find in Hermosillo. I mean, larger than anything else you'd see. It reminded me of an Office Depot or Office Max.
Staples.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, just it had that feel.
Well, at home, they sell everything. Everything. They don't sell groceries. They don't sell groceries. Not yet.
Chairs? Yeah, but they're wood, right?
Yeah, they're wood.
See, these things that we're doing, powder, what do they call it? Powder coated.
Yeah, there we go.
Doesn't matter what here.
Impromptu video producing. A little bit. What it does is it shoots over this part of the table. I'm just trying something different. And then I'm focusing on you, Chester, because you contribute such good information.
Where's Chester? Oh, he's down there.
Yeah, right down the middle.
In the back.
And we'll take a moment and see Bill. How you doing, Bill?
Yes and no.
There.
Yeah, you're just a black blob at the moment.
Yeah, well, I want to stay that way.
Oh, you can't. You just can't. The minute they're dinged up and you get
That's
a little
right.
crack in it, it gets under there.
But here I'll get the lighting man on it here.
There's that long.
There we go.
Oh, no, here. Let me see.
And
This way.
Yeah, there's Bill.
they're cute.
No, this is Boris Karloff. Or that's Hitchcock.
Well, we are connected. We have awesome internet. Things are rolling.
Medical waste in the 20th one.
Whoa, what are we talking about? Medical waste?
Trash barrels. They were doing it in front of the police station, and they were jackhammering from here to here away from us. And installing an alarm system at the same time. The wind picked, I mean, it was
He was silent.
in front of the police station. As far as I know, they're still there. Plus, it's oil-based neon, which is really runny, and it's small paint, trim paint. But we had a good time. Lunch was great.
Yeah. Did he go into
No. Are you kidding?
I was like,
Lisa, the one in charge of
Go right ahead.
paints the paint herself.
Well, now that just shows
She got a deal on it. When she gets by in, I chipped in for dinner and.
I always like Karloff.
There is money, but there's.
I watch a lot of old.
Right.
It's so effective. Okay. If you give me a moment, we're ready to start. Let me start us. This is the San Carlos Computer Club. I am Scott Stimson from International Computer Solutions. I'm very happy to be here and share technology with you guys. Thanks for being here with me. I just wanted to say thank you for enduring the Bitcoin conversation last week.
I thought it was good.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Apparently in New York they enjoyed it as well. And they're going to ask me to do some more of that kind of stuff, I think. So I might be asking more of that kind of stuff from you guys. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm his new guy. Anyway, we'll start with Chester's story. What's your story?
This is not a technical story, but it is an alert story. Most of you know a lot of you know where I live. And right next door to me is a house that's owned by Jeff and Lydia. And early in the evening, night before last, they were broken into and robbed. That's correct. Yeah, and they were Canadians, and they were renting it for 5 months. And they sold everything that they could get their hands on, including their car keys.
Wow.
It's spare car. Huh? Spare car. Yeah. So, but that even that is.
Yeah, without question, remember the lock keys down.
So my caution is, that and I know Duzzy down there has a new alarm system, so it's time to think about when it gets next door, it really gets you.
Are you talking about in the rental house next door to you?
Yeah.
Did they have an alarm system?
No, but I do, and I have the signs and 2 little dogs, so they didn't hit my place, I think, because I have the signs up.
They came in off the beach. They came in off the beach section, right?
Yeah, on the beach.
On the left side by the front door.
Did they break anything to get in?
Yes, they jimmied the sliding doors. The sliding doors are the easiest to get into.
Yeah.
Easy to jimmy. Not if you have that. Broomstick.
You know, it sounds like we're still talking about opportunity crime. It's just now the opportunities they'll do a little bit more work for the opportunities. If you have bars, oh, go ahead.
One of the houses that I watch over the summer is protected by Cyberco, and I've watching it's been broken into twice. Before that,
This is not commentary on Cyberco.
Not commentary on Cyberco at all. But I had a friend that was a security person. He worked for Honeywell, and he just did not have an alarm. And what he did is he says his exposure kept his walls really short, so you could see the entire property, because thieves hate something being able to watch. So if it's a dog or exposure, so you can see. Cyberco only goes so far. It's once they're in, that's when it goes off. But something to keep in mind is you can keep the bushes down, keep it open, not so much privacy. That's what burglars like. They like privacy.
And turn on more outside lights.
Even when it goes off, that doesn't mean that they're not going to get in and get what they want and get out.
Right. Yeah.
That's what happened.
Mine
The
was
cyber
broken in.
whoever even
You
gets
got
there.
robbed too?
Mine
Well,
was
they did
broken
get
in.
there. They did repair.
Gene Hall.
Cut.
Mine was broken into 10 years ago. We responded when the Cyberco did catch it.
They caught him. It's on the
Yeah.
back.
Wow.
Cyberco and
Well,
they do. They did then.
Nothing against Cyberco. It's just,
it's ironic that they would have security and still get broken into 2 or 3 times.
Did go off, both times. One time they ran off, and the second time they got quite a bit of stuff, and then broke one of the sensors, and then ran off, and I heard the alarm go off. But they still got it.
Well, when it comes to home security, something as simple as a motion sensor light.
Yep.
They got
If
torn
you
off
get
our
near the
walls.
Yeah.
They stole the motion sensor light.
Yeah, no, they broke them. They broke them
Okay.
They'll
off.
break them. Yeah.
They
Hey.
could break mine, they're too high up.
Ours
know
are too.
a
They
f-
broke them.
A friend of mine a couple years ago got broken into in the Ranchitos, and they stole his security camera.
No, I was never.
They didn't get in the house.
Right?
got in
They
there.
had a internal security camera, and they took that with them as they left.
Well, they watch too much TV. You always see when they have a TV show,
Yeah.
and they're like in an art gallery, and they smash
On
the
the windows.
they smash the
Spray
security
the
Spray.
or spray them with it.
But
Mm.
the thing to do is if you have a business, have a dummy recorder. So they go in there and they take the.
I don't know how tech related that is, but I'll tell you because I'm disgruntled about it.
Okay, what happened?
Oh, somebody got into my car when I was kiteboarding the other day, last Sunday.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately they didn't get away with much, but they did get away with my my wallet, which has my immigration, my permanente. And so like I'm thinking the Bluetooth speaker is probably the most expensive thing that's gotten stolen. My wife's like, that card is the most expensive thing that got stolen.
Yeah, they told us we got our new Permanentes.
Mm-hmm.
If you lose them, you have to reapply.
That's what she told.
Reapply?
Yeah.
And pay again.
Pay again. That's really the better way to put it. Yuya made it clear to me they're gonna approve it, no problem. But we have to file the same paperwork and pay the same cost.
Yeah.
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 So could you have made a copy of it and have that in your wallet?
That's what I
and have
got,
it be effective?
copies.
Necessary.
That's a great idea. I should have done that.
That's what I have with my passports.
Yeah.
In my suitcase.
That's what we do.
Well, and yesterday and today, or yesterday and the day before, I was running around with my passport, and I've never been asked for these documents. I feel safer with them at home locked away and telling my story to anybody that finally asks me for my immigration paperwork. I'll be like, look, this is what happened. Here's a copy of the police report. Give me whatever fine you want, but I'm not carrying my passport around with me.
I never carry my passport.
I don't either.
What's that?
Or a Permanente.
Mm-hmm. No, this is. I should have thought of that. I've been here too long. It's easy to stick that card in my wallet.
My
And
Mexican?
No, well, I don't know if you have.
I mean, this is really good advice.
So how did they get in?
You only have one.
I'll make my story technical, and then Chester can tell his non-technical story. So I was just asked by Bill how they got into my car. Well, what I'm discovering is that my 99 Honda CRV with power locks doesn't necessarily lock every time. And occasionally a door gets left unlocked. It's kind of a sad way to find that out. I lost some sentimental stuff, but really it was my wallet that's the big deal that I lost, and and the speaker is kind of some tech stuff we can live without. But I lost that cap my mom made for me that I was so happy with. That was very sentimental. They stole a pair of pants I had folded up.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you need my pants for? And it had a Levi's belt that I have had since before I've known my wife. I mean, that belt has been with me for almost 30 years. It still looks new. It's got notches in it from when I got really skinny, and it's got notches in it from when I got really fat.
Scott.
Yeah.
In Weymouth, there's been a problem with thievery for a long time, and it's just coming here. And my wife took some green stuff and put it in with my underwear, and my underwear is all green as a result. Can we get on with the computer club?
Oh, well, I'm just curious why the segue to your green underwear.
Yeah.
Because it's
I have
Bob.
problems too.
Oh, I thought you were offering tips on how to keep people out of your car.
Yeah.
There was vandalism to cars at the country club 2 weeks ago.
Well, I should probably say just one more thing. When I came back to the beach in the group of the kiteboarders, I said, hey guys, somebody got into my car. One of them said, was that your car alarm? I'm like, no, it wasn't. I don't have a car alarm. But, it would have been good if we were all telling each other, hey, a car alarm is going off. Is that anybody's car? Because there's somebody out there checking doors.
Where were you parked?
Behind the old Bonifacios.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, just there. And keep your cars locked at the beach. Opportunity crimes. I think that's the story.
Can I tell you more about my green underwear?
If you think it's going to keep crime out of my car, go right ahead. Bob, I have to say it's good to have you back, though.
We missed you.
It's been a little boring here.
In fact, Chester, you're losing the spotlight for Bob in his green underwear. He is now on camera.
Aim it that way, folks. Bob's over there.
There we go. So, Chester, did you?
Yes, I heard the word Permanente mentioned,
Yes.
and several years ago, on behalf of a friend, I don't have a friend, I inquired from Lewis and Lewis. I inquired from Lewis and Lewis if Permanente was driving an American car, would the insurance be good?
Mm.
And the insurance company responded in writing, yes.
Oh, that's good to know.
Don't do that. However, other friends just recently tried to renew their car insurance through Lewis and Lewis, and there's a small writing at the bottom of the page that says the insurance is not valid if you have permanent. So they're running around town with 2 cars and no insurance. So I just wanted to mention that if you have permanently an American car, I would sure try to find out and have it in writing whether or not you're protected.
That's
Cars are, they wanna watch out.
I've heard that.
well, that's good info. Well, that's the question, isn't it? That's one of the reasons Chester looks into this is
What several years ago, the answer was from the insurance company that as long as you were in the
free zone.
free zone, that you were covered. But that's apparently not the case now.
I think once you get your Permanente, you're supposed to get Mexican plates.
Yeah.
Well, there's
Mexican car.
supposed to, and then there's the rest of us.
But then you have to import it, pay thousands
Yeah.
of dollars.
No, just
We-
get rid of your car and buy one down here.
Oh,
Well, and really, we're all living in the gray area. We are all living in the loophole of all these rules where there's just an incredible amount of interpretation that can be done.
But you don't want to be living without insurance.
But the insurance, yeah, they're making it very clear we have a reason not to cover you.
I carry 2 different policies, the US and a Mexican.
Yeah.
You have liability on a US company?
Well, not in Mexico, right?
Yes,
Now, how does that work?
I've
it's
never heard of that.
international coverage, it's made for, you're insuring your license, actually, and so any vehicle that you drive, you're insured, unless it's Mexican plated, then it's not insured, but if your ATV is registered, you're insured, my motorcycles are insured. All my trucks, everything that's US plated,
Even though it's in Mexico.
even if that's what it's for. It's
Wow.
for- And what I have is straight liability on them because I can afford to replace them if they get smashed or whatever. But you can get full coverage through them and everything else. And it's a place out of, I think they're San Diego. I could dig up the name for you if you wanted. It was recommended by a guy that used to sell insurance for farmers, and that's who he uses all the time.
So, what's the insurance company?
I have to look it up.
Oh, okay.
So it's like an
That would be good
umbrella-
information.
It's like an umbrella policy?
It insures your license, like it used to be legal in the United States to insure your license. So you're insured in any car you drive. In California, they don't do that anymore. But down here, that's still legal. So I have a piece of paper that's in all of the vehicles,
Mhm.
except my Mexican plated ones. And you're covered. It even covers your tow vehicle. If you're towing a car, like your boat, it's covered while you're towing it. Once it's in the water, it's not covered anymore.
I have that from the back of the book.
Say that again? Vagabundos.
so
It's a driving club?
Like
for
vagabond.
it's for Baja California.
Oh,
It's a big organization of people that go.
I learn something new every time I come to Computer Club. I hope you guys too, as well. And I was thinking maybe it is Insurance Club, but maybe we can get some more green underwear story to balance that out.
That's the only one I remember so far.
Or we go back to tech topics. No, I'm not partial to green underwear. I might be partial to Bob's underwear, but I'm not partial to...
There's your title for you.
Bob,
Bob's underwear.
Okay, all right, you're watching me write it down.
Bob's green underwear. Bob's green underwear.
So, did people bring questions, topics, anything they'd like to
I have a
share?
question.
Yes.
How could somebody's computer say, for the internet, that it's connected but you really aren't on a laptop?
Shows a connection, but says there's no internet.
Oh.
Well, that's very common if the bridge to the internet's down. the DSL modems down.
That happened to me this morning, and I rebooted, shut up my power down, powered up again, everything's okay.
You know, that's the problem that I keep reporting, that I keep finding individuals having, and we've got to try and coordinate these to areas, because I think that's Telmex doing that. I think something's going on in Telmex's network that's causing
This
that.
person is in Villahermosa.
Okay.
Not far from me,
Right.
Wait. Villahermosa is
over here.
Up here on the hill.
up on the hill,
Yeah.
but aren't you
Oh,
down?
yeah, I'm a mile away.
Yeah.
Charlie's wrong.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that
You had the same thing this morning? I did not have
Her
it this
husband's
morning.
laptop was working.
Oh, the laptop was
She called me
working.
last night about 8:30.
Hmm.
She said her husband's laptop was working, but hers isn't, and it just said connected, no internet. So I don't know what that means.
it means that the modem is sending a signal. The computer is receiving the signal, but the signal is not the internet.
Well, it gets more convoluted if you've got two computers in the same network and one of them's working, the other one isn't.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's,
strange.
that could be IP conflicts. It could be a problem. It seems like that would narrow down to the specific computer having a problem.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, and I would.
Since I couldn't see it, and I wasn't going to her
Yeah.
house at 8:30 last night.
Like one of my troubleshooting techniques is just to plug a cable into it and see if it has the same problem with a cable connection. And if it has the same problem with the cable connection, then there's a very good chance that it's something in the network stack in Windows that's having a problem.
Okay.
Is it Windows?
Yeah, or
It's still-
Macintosh.
It's
Yeah.
still Windows 7, and it's a really nice laptop that was a lot of money.
You
It's hardly ever been used.
You know, a thing that throws me off, it always throws me off, because Windows has a good firewall. There's no reason to put in a third-party firewall. But occasionally people put in a third-party firewall and you find those kinds of problems. Like the network that you're on didn't get authorized as an internet connection, so it shows you as connected and you can talk to the other computers and printers on the network, but you're not allowed to go out onto the internet with that computer. And it's because at some point you were supposed to authorize it for internet use, and you didn't. And so it's blocking all the external traffic.
That's what's happening. Well, she's using it. She normally is using it up in Sholo
Okay.
in the summer, and she just brought it down. So
Oh, just brought it down and it doesn't work? So here's another thing that could cause that. If for some reason her tech person was having network issues, or they have a very specific network, and they put static IP addresses in their network adapter, if they specified the numbers in the computer instead of letting the
computer
find it automatically, that's called DHCP, is when the numbers get put in it by your modem automatically. If they chose to put static IP, then it won't ever hook up because it's looking for that same network. Ed.
I've had a problem with two of my computers now. When they start up, they get the blue screen. They say there's a startup issue. You got to go through the recovery system.
You've got it. You've got that update. You've got the Spectre Meltdown update.
Is that what it is?
It's what it is. That's totally what it is. Are they AMD processors?
I think so.
Yeah, I would double check that. But the fix for that, and I haven't heard of any other fix yet. I mean, the long-term fix is Microsoft stopped pushing out that update. But there is an app that Microsoft has, Windows Update Hide and Show. I think let me Google that real quick to make sure that brings you to the right app. But after it goes through the whole startup process, what it has really done is it has rolled you back to before that update. And the problem is when you go to shut it down again, it tries to install the update again. And you go through that whole process again, and you lose like 20 minutes, a half hour waiting for all that to happen.
Did anybody get an update yesterday?
Yeah, I had noticed of one.
Well, it took a really long time last night.
Okay.
I didn't get one this morning.
Well, my husband's
Windows or?
Okay.
My husband's laptop was acting kind of weird yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He was trying to go to a page, and it would go to the page, and then it would go to a page and he'd try to start reading it, and then it would just dump out and go back to the, and he did it like 3 times. So I said, well, why don't we just restart the computer? Maybe it's just something. And when we restarted the computer, it went into this update. It took a really long time.
I put it on the nighttime thing, so I don't know how.
Well, we usually have ours on at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Let,
Both of them.
let me report my own experience on this kind of stuff. I pay very close attention to where I am with the updates. I'm always constantly looking to see if I'm up to date and rechecking again. It might say this morning, and I'll recheck in the afternoon to see if there isn't an update. And I just recently had an experience where I knew I didn't have any updates. I'd just gone through that. I went to shut down the computer, and lo and behold, I'm in the middle of an update process.
That's what it was.
And there was no indication that I needed an update to begin with.
No, there wasn't.
Fortunately, it only took a couple of extra minutes, but if it had taken 45 minutes, I would have been messed up. I mean, I would have been in the middle of work that was on hold because this computer wants to update.
Well, it's about 10 or 15 minutes at least.
Longer than that.
It seems like it.
Well, Ed's issue is a very long time, and you don't get to choose. You have decided to restart your computer, and it's trying to install this update, fails, has to reboot itself, tell you, it actually has to fail twice, doesn't it? It has to start up and freeze, and you cut it off and you turn it on, starts up and freezes, reboots, and says you're having a startup problem. Doing the startup repair, you have to go through the startup repair, reboots the computer, it says everything's been successful, you're ready to go. And the insult to it is that if you shut the computer down, it starts that whole process again. So, Ed, what you can do, go to Google and Google Windows Update Hide Show. Yeah. Windows space update space hide space show. This is only recommended for computers with AMD processors that are in this ridiculous boot. And one of the first links you'll see is how to temporarily prevent a driver update from reinstalling. Now, it's not a driver, it's an update, but this works for the update. Then this app, when you run it, will look at all the things you have sitting to be installed and give you the option to hide them from the operating system. One of them is the 2018 #1 security update. And you can put a check mark in that to hide it, and it will not be an issue again. Well, now that's actually an interesting thing for me to say because we are not supposed to be able to control these updates with Windows 10. So I don't know actually when this kind of fix will stop fixing it. The idea is sometime the update is going to install. Hopefully it's fixed by the time it is installing.
Scott, I don't have any problem with Windows 7.
Right, but you also don't have any more security updates. I'm being tongue-in-cheek. You actually do get security updates because it's become such an issue. I think they've pushed them on to 2020. Yeah. Or you could get a Mac. And actually, I was looking at Russ's Mac the other day, and something weird is going on because I went back to look at my Mac. I'm running that same antivirus software. I'm running the same Firefox, and it is not breaking the security certificates. So there is an odd combination of things in your computer that's causing that.
It's kind of odd anyway.
We are all a bit odd.
I had a computer that I bought with Windows 8.1 in it, which I updated to Windows 10. And for a while, every update that came along took like all night, and it was still struggling when I got up in the morning, so I just shut it on. Turned it back on, it says reverting to the previous operating system.
That is the same. I think we fixed that, didn't we, on your computer?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to want to do it anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly the problem that Ed is reporting to us with his computers. I had exactly the same problem on our living room home theater PC because it's an AMD processor. So this fix will work. The question is, when are they going to break the fix? Because eventually they're going to force the update to be installed. Hopefully the update is fixed by the time it is forced to be installed.
Are they charging now for Windows 10?
Not that I'm aware of. I have still been able to update Windows 7 computers to Windows 10 using the what do they call it? The accessibility exemption. And if you guys don't remember what this is where you can Google Microsoft Windows 10 accessibility, and it will take you to a web page on Microsoft that will allow you to download the Windows 10 upgrade for your computer because you have an accessibility issue. What that is you have poor eyesight or you have poor hearing, and their exemption is that if that's the case, then you can still get the upgrade for free. I think it's their way of keeping the upgrade out there because they want everybody to move to Windows 10, but they don't want to put a stamp on it saying forever it's going to be free. They know it's out there. They know people like me are installing it for people like you. I think that it's really easy for any one of us. I'll tell you, in the last few months, I've got an accessibility issue with my eyes. I went out and bought my first cheaters this year. So I think any one of us could make an argument for for accessibility. I have.
Scott, do you ever recommend staying with Windows 7 or previous operating systems rather than go to Windows 10?
Well, there's this ancient philosophy I'm sure you guys have heard before that if it's not broken, don't fix it. And there are many situations where there are situations where you are and they're mostly like production environments. They are environments where you've got a computer controlling some other machine. And I can tell you from my experience working with maquilas, there are machines, there are CNCs out there that are still running Windows XP. There are production machines, data acquisition machines that are running DOS still. And those kinds of machines represent things that would never be updated. I'm sure, I have no experience in the medical field, but I'm sure that if you looked in hospitals, there would be a slew of machines that they would never want to have on the internet. They would never want to deal with updates to those machines. But as far as all of us, I think Windows 10 is the best operating system since Windows 7, since Windows 2000. And it's only the best operating system until that afternoon when it's not, and you're like, what did I do to myself? I can't get into my computer. I think that's just par for the course now. Hey, be ready for your cars not to start sometimes, right? Be ready for your TV not to turn on sometimes. And there'll be a very logical reason for it, and you'll have to, press this button, press that button, stand on your head. Shout a haiku, and then it will come back and everything will be golden again, and you'll be very happy with your technology. It's just a world we're living in. Yeah, Jim.
Back to the insurance. Well, I got the address.
Oh, excellent.
MexicoInsurance.com.
MexicoInsurance.com.
Yeah, it was a hard one.
Really hard to come up with. MexicoInsurance.com.
But your driver license policy is for liability, I think $100 a year. No.
Let's see.
Only here.
Vagabundos is also very good. We've had it for 25 years.
Is it Vagabundos?
We've never had a claim, so we don't.
It's like vagabond.
Well, this one does send an adjuster out if you get in an accident. The guy that told me about it did get in an accident, the farmer's guy, and they sent the adjuster out, took care of it, and wham bam, he was extremely happy about it. And he still uses this. He lives here still.
Well, when you buy a car down here, your insurance is a little bit more money when you go to regular insurance.
No,
My insurance is about, we have a 3-year-old car, so our insurance was about $700 for the year, but it does cover us for Mexico, for the U.S. and Canada. Liability.
Oh, if you're driving a Mexican car.
Yeah, liability. But at least we don't have to go buy it when we go over the border every time. So.
No, that's good. That's good to know.
I have a question. this is a memory question.
Okay.
Putting memory into somebody's laptop, when it says it'll take, and so you buy 2 memories,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to replace the memories, but you put one in, and when you go to put the other one in, it won't take it, and you have to put the old one back in. What does that mean?
How old is the laptop?
I don't know how old it was.
I mean, there's very little of that that's going on, but back in the day, I mean, if you start going back, I don't know, 10 years, there it
no,
is.
it's not 10. It wasn't 10 years old, but I bought 2 new memories, and I figured I'll just put the 2 new memories in.
Okay,
But
well, if it's
but
a,
it made me put the old one. I had the old one back in there, and then to put the new one in on the top.
I'd still double check in the manual what the manufacturer says for maximum memory.
Right.
And if it says it takes I mean, if you haven't exceeded that maximum,
No.
then you may be dealing with a bad memory chip.
Too late now. I just put it away, and I thought, well, if one of them goes, then I'll just.
There's one other issue I've run into, and it has to do with memory speed. But since DDR3, it hasn't really been an issue.
Yeah.
But
You could switch them,
swap them.
and see if
No.
There's also the issue that we had with my computer where the chip was properly in
Seated.
place.
Yeah, you have to make sure it's going to click. It clicks in, and then.
We had an issue with Gary's laptop where the memory chip just rose its way out of the slot. Just from jostling around, it had popped out of the slot, and we just pulled it out, stuck it back in, and everything was beautiful again.
Well, actually, buying one was enough.
Well, I was gonna say, if it's a speed issue, that'll be pretty apparent to you if you take one new memory chip and stick it in as the main memory. If it doesn't start up, then it could. Well, and I would you have 2 new memory chips, so I would try that with both of them, because it's highly unlikely both of them are bad. And so I would try it with both of them, and if the laptop doesn't start with either one of those new chips, then it could be a speed issue. Those memories are supposed to be backwards and forwards compatible, and it just may not be. Your laptop may not be telling it the right signals to dial down to the speed that it's supposed to be at.
Well, I mean, the computer works fine. I just left the old one in there and put the new one, and I had enough memory in it. I had just thought, well, I'm buying one, I might as well buy 2.
Well, the speed issue, and the reason the old memory makes it work is because if you stick the old memory in first, then it sets the speed to that slower memory. So then it already knows what speed it's going to address the faster memory at. Whereas if it is a speed issue, if your computer can't tell the chip what speed to go at, or it thinks it can go faster and the memory's just not supporting it, then you'll just end up with a black screen if you stick in the new chip first. The old chip first will force the computer to be in that slower speed, so the next memory will be available at that lower speed. But the new chip only, it'll try and accommodate that higher speed, and it's failing doing that.
Failing. So I just put the old. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I just had that in my mind.
Right.
Why it wouldn't take 2 new chips.
Yeah, and it should, because that memory is supposed to be backwards and forwards compatible, and what you end up with is something that we don't think about much anymore, but compatibility issues, where a certain piece of hardware and a certain piece of hardware don't mesh together for some reason.
Well, sometimes when you go to buy these memories, even though the computer tells you which memory to buy, it's not the right memory.
Yeah. Are you shopping on Amazon? That's
I went into Crucial.
Yeah.
And look at the list, and it had a different memory than what the actual.
That's interesting. So you put in, because that's a real common way to buy memory online. You go to a memory site and you put in your laptop's model and year, and it tells you which one of their memory chips is compatible.
Right.
So
actually, what I wound up buying was, it actually said Apple, and it turned out to be a DDR3L or something, which wasn't because.
Well, you might be sorting out your problem right there.
Well, when I took it down, now, and we looked up the number that it said it was supposed to be. It wasn't that number.
Okay.
That's why I mentioned that sometimes.
Well, you might
not
be.
the right one.
There might be a chip out there that is completely compatible. I mean, it could very well be just this hardware compatibility issue, which we hardly run into anymore, but it happens from time to time.
It's
I mean,
it's about 7, 8 years old, so.
We've had hardware compatibility issues that just blow people's mind. There was a period of time where the latest Macintoshes were coming out. I remember this in town because I was helping people with these latest Macintosh laptops, and we could not get them to connect to the 2-wire. If you guys remember the old Telmex 2-wire DSL modem connections, they were wireless modems, and the new Macintoshes would not connect to them. And it actually, you went to Macintosh support, and they had a ridiculous way you would put the password in that would make it support it. And so for a while there, my job was being called out to somebody's Macintosh problem and discovering it's another one of these hardware compatibility issues and typing the password in the right way. I mean, it needed some special character or something to get it to connect to the Wi-Fi network. There's nothing wrong with the 2 wires. They work just fine outside of using one of the new Macintosh. The old Macintoshes worked fine with the 2 wires. This was the new, and eventually they pushed out a firmware update to their new Macintoshes that made it compatible with the 2 wires, as well as eventually the 2 wires were discontinued and replaced with the Huawei modems that we're using nowadays from Telmex, and so the issue's moot. But it was a major hardware compatibility issue when you think we live in a world where everything's supposed to be standard.
I don't know if you guys have discussed this, but has anybody done, I would not do an update on your printers.
Oh gosh, that's a great point, Linda. Expand on that.
I did the update on the printer.
I totally forgot about this.
I have another friend, I have an Epson, and my other friend has an HP. He did the update on the printer. Now the printer won't work. The ink won't work. He called HP. They supposedly have a patch for this. Okay, so about 2 weeks ago, that was longer than 2
Do
weeks
you know the background of these updates?
No, so I'll finish.
Okay.
Okay, I did my Epson. It came up, said it wanted to do an update. Bingo, won't work. No, it won't take the ink. If you don't, so I ordered new Epson ink, totally Epson ink. And now it's working.
Did you have to get it from Mexico or from the United States?
No, I had to get the ink from the U.S.
Yeah.
So I just by chance, I went over to Sam's Club and started looking at the printers. Well, they all have the fillable ink in them now. You buy a lot more money.
But you get big tubes of ink that you can refill.
You squeeze in it, and they've all got a box on the side with 3 little windows in it, or 4 little windows in it for filling the ink, but they're also a lot more money. I don't know how long those bottles of ink last, how many fills you get.
Well,
anyway, if you think you're worried, don't do an update on your printer.
That explains a lot.
This
explains a lot.
Yeah,
why it isn't working.
I have 2 HPs, and one I did the update on, and I cannot get anywhere with it.
Okay, do you have not HP ink in it?
No, it's HP.
Is it genuine HP ink?
It's genuine HP.
Well,
from the country you bought the printer from?
It may be remanufactured. Is it JG?
Yeah, they
refill.
But they also sell genuine.
Yeah, they do.
So do you know whether you?
Yes, they do.
If they refill, no.
Yeah, I think
you're going to have to just go buy new genuine HP ink, put it in, and then it should.
So there's a couple issues with this update. There's this one region code stuff that we've been experiencing. So after the update, you may not be able to use Mexican ink in your American printer, which is a real issue. Which is just laughable that it's a real issue, but it's a real issue.
In the north and the south, in Northeast, we can't buy. If you're from the Northeast, you can't buy California HP ink and take it home.
Really?
Well, why? No, it's regional within the U.S. as well as.
I haven't run into that at all.
Yes.
Well, I believe the background with these updates is that they were able to compromise all these printers. and it came out of the Spectre meltdown. The chipset, they discovered that the print servers were very easy to compromise and take advantage of, infect them with malware, use them in botnets. And so there was this push encouraging people to upgrade their firmwares. At the exact same time, having nothing to do with Spectre and Meltdown, is this region coding stuff that's been going on, where it may be the same model in Mexico as in the United States, but if you don't buy the ink from the same country, so you may install this update to keep your printer from being compromised by hackers, but then all of a sudden you can't buy ink from Walmart here in Guaymas. You got to get somebody to bring it down from the United States.
It says on the box too, you know.
What's that?
Somebody I know just got ink, and it said on the box for Latin America only, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
For
so they're
Latin
really
America
pushing this.
only, so
I think the moral of this story is there may be corporations and government out there that are having to deal with this issue, but nobody at this table has to deal with this issue. There is no reason to update the firmware in your printer. There's absolutely no. It's a higher level skill to begin with. I mean, you have to go out of your way to do that kind of update to your printer.
no, it comes right on the screen.
If you don't register it, you shouldn't have a problem.
So
Yeah, I don't know. I think you would ignore your update. Has it really gotten that
I
easy?
won't get another update because I had just put in new ink, and it was not Epson ink. Well, excuse me.
Yeah.
3 of them were Epson ink, and 2 of them weren't Epson ink. And then I did the printer was working fine.
Updating software like Windows or Mac software is fine. Updating firmware on your printer is not fine. So if that pops up as an easy thing to do, you want to just cancel it and ignore it. There's no reason. The only thing you have to look forward to is possibly frying your printer so that it's unusable, which is always the problem with using firmware, is something could go wrong. You could have a surge spike or something in the middle of the upgrade. All of a sudden it's just a chunk of e-waste. The other problem is you could region lock your printer. So before you were going to Walmart and buying your ink, now you have to get somebody to bring your ink from the United States because that's where your printer's from. So you have that to look forward to. The security issue that they want you to be protected against, the Spectre meltdown, the fixes can slow down the performance of the computers they're fixing. So that translates to a print server that could be more unstable, could be slower to print out print jobs. There's just nothing to win. There's nothing to gain from updating your printer.
Obviously.
Maybe.
$60 worth of ink.
Depending on the model and if people have figured out how to flash it back. Sydney, I'm very disappointed in you. I brought you. You're supposed to be an example.
You needed to know what the weather was like in Anchorage.
Yeah, Bob.
Can I change the subject?
Maybe.
Who in the world with Telmex, and I don't know if anybody else has low-hanging wires, but we have one that up here, the guy's caught with one of these overhead trucks with a rack. And who in the world in Telmex do you call?
050. I would 050 is their problem report number, and unfortunately you're going to deal with a lot of Spanish menus until you can talk to somebody.
Tell the lady at the office.
You could tell the lady at the office as well, but if you do it over the phone, it should go into a computer, and you should end up with a report number.
Okay.
And you probably have to report it more than once, and it'll probably take weeks for them to get to it because it's such a low priority compared to everything else they're
I have
doing.
another question.
Yeah.
If you're traveling, can you get Wi-Fi for a computer or for a pad, like if you're traveling? I understand there are people that have the ability to, I know on the buses they have it.
Oh, satellite.
Well, yeah, I mean, as long as you're not opposed to using cell service, then you could have it wherever you could have a cell phone.
I have it.
You do?
Yeah, through Verizon.
Jetpack. Okay, so it's through your phone then.
Well, it can be through your phone. You could turn your phone into a hotspot, or you could buy a hotspot for Verizon. Is that what Jetpack is?
No, it's not through your phone. The Jetpack is a phone. I mean,
Yeah, it's its own
it goes
hotspot,
on your
right?
bill as a phone. It's a
Yeah.
Wi-Fi hotspot.
Yeah, it's a
a
Wi-Fi hotspot.
So it's
Well,
a
they
device
also-
that's about the size of a phone, and it's just connected to the cell network
Yeah, half smaller
Yeah.
than that.
and broadcasts a Wi-Fi pocket that you can connect
You
to.
can also buy that Solis now, SOLIS. It's
Solis?
orange, bright orange. Have you seen it advertised?
No.
Oh, they've got it all over Facebook. And but it's expensive. It's like $10 a day to use it.
Jim?
No.
Why would you, buy a separate, Wi-Fi hotspot to tether your phone?
Well, there's a lot of advantage to, and like for one, you don't have to waste your phone battery. Doing something like that with your phone is really power intensive, and so you could find, like when I've used my phone as a hotspot in the past, I've watched my battery life cut down to a third its regular life. It just depends on how intense you're using it.
Well, you need an external battery then.
Plugged in.
Yeah, that's a way to circumvent that, is to keep power to the phone while you're doing it.
Right.
There's also again, back to the battery thing. You might want to have more than one or two devices. You might want to have like your whole house's devices connected to it. Then how do you go someplace with your phone?
That's what I was thinking about in the RV.
Yeah.
I've got a separate Wi-Fi, and I looked up one day and decided it just didn't make sense to be paying the bill for.
Well, there's also, you can find yourself in a situation where you want some custom settings. Like maybe that is your main connection to the internet. Well, on your phone, you're constantly turning it on and off. Whereas if you have a hotspot, you can do things like combine it with a router and do router administrative stuff, like open up firewalls and allow apps to be used, security systems.
Another advantage too is you can put an external antenna on it. Maybe you do that on phone, but with a hotspot, and with the,
You can add another antenna to it. Yeah, I mean, I see advantages on both sides. I like the idea that I have a hotspot with me whenever I need a hotspot. But if I was traveling and had an RV and wanted to have guaranteed internet for all the devices in the RV, I think I would be interested in something like a Jetpack, because then I could administer it like my home network.
And everybody can use it.
Yeah, anybody that comes over could use it.
So I have a Telmex question,
Okay.
and that's possible answer.
That's not the only one that's out there, Bob, but that's the one that Chester has
Check out the
mentioned.
Solis, SOLIS.
Hey, Chester, before we go on that, I really, as we're winding down in time, I did want to give an update, if I haven't, on the Eero. You guys remember I brought in that mesh network setup? It had a base station and two what they call beacons. Well, that was an amazing product. I mean, I told you my headaches getting it set up, and the stupidity of the button not being found on the screen. You had to scroll. Did I tell you guys all that?
Yeah.
So after it was set up in this hacienda-style house, it's huge, this huge 2-story house, they had almost perfect internet everywhere we put it. And I'm not talking about like there's an access point right there, so of course it's going to have a full bars. The software lets you see the beacon's connection between it and the base station. And I'm telling you, it was an awesome connection. It was better than I could have hoped for. I was blown away by, I don't know what kind of technology it's using, bouncing off walls or going out and in. But that equipment, I was complaining that this is a $300 device, and immediately thought the price probably is worth it for the amount of performance that it got out of it.
Did those 3 pieces cover that whole house, or did you have to add?
It covered the whole house down to the parking lot.
Wow.
A 2-story hacienda horseshoe. The main base station was in the middle of the horseshoe, and all the way out on both ends you could get Wi-Fi from these beacons. Downstairs we put one downstairs in a bedroom, and we put one way out on one side, and we had full coverage throughout the house.
What's the name of it?
It's called Eero, E-E-R-O.
That has a subscription though, right?
It does have a subscription. I don't think the subscription stops you from using the system. I think it does stop you from taking advantage of their other features. I think you're still able to use it as a mesh network, but there's other features that they're trying to sell you, like tracking, blocking. What's neat about the app is on your mobile device, you can see every device that's connected to your network. You can touch a device and say, this device doesn't get internet anymore.
Security?
They are expanding into security. That's their play is smart home, but they're coming into it as Wi-Fi mesh. But what they want to do is they want to have security cameras that you'll stick off on these things. And I don't know why it's taken me so long to get my head wrapped around this, but this is the future. Is you're going to buy a security camera and it's going to be a mesh network beacon. You're going to buy a smart speaker like an Echo, and it's going to be more than a speaker. It's going to extend your Wi-Fi network. These are the next products we're going to see coming out. And so you're going to be adding features to your network, but you're also going to be making your network more robust as you do it, just by default.
What's the subscription cost?
I don't remember. I can look it up, though. Yeah, I'm thinking it was something like $30 a year.
Really?
Yeah.
That's all?
Yeah, I don't remember it being an expensive. Is that what it was? I was thinking it was more like $3 a month or something, but let's see, Euro Plus I think is what we're talking about. Because they're trying to, they want to do monitoring for you and give you reports and.
Will they babysit too?
Yeah, they will. They've got a parental control feature, and so that's part of the subscription is that you're able to do blocking, which as a parent, that's kind of cool to have a turnkey situation where you could set an age level for a child, and they've got people out there you're paying to scour and decide what is appropriate, what isn't appropriate, and make blacklists of things that they think.
I want something that puts out a skunk smell in my house. I'm serious. Does that?
You just keep wanting to go back to underwear.
Yeah.
This is going downhill.
Downhill
I have a
fast.
question. Are these plug-in?
They're plug-in.
So what happens here? Because there's so many. I bought that plug-in, remember, and we couldn't get it to work in the house
Because of the wiring.
Yeah.
This is not a power line extender, and that's what you're thinking of, is when we pass the data through the electrical lines in the house. This is a Wi-Fi mesh network. That's why I was blown away by how well it worked. Because if you saw this house, there's a Dolby, there's brick, there's rebar everywhere. It's a huge. I just expected that when I put it way out on the end, I was going to get barely this signal, and it was going to get rebroadcasted in that area. So maybe between two computers in that area, maybe they're getting 100 megabits a second. But between those computers and the internet, maybe they're getting 2 megabits a second. That was not the case. We had full internet from that arm way out there. Something about the way that it broadcasts, the Wi-Fi that it uses, allows it to maintain a stable, much faster connection between its base station and the beacons. I wonder if it's even traditional Wi-Fi. I think they might have proprietary Wi-Fi that they're using to pull this off.
Okay, so they have 2 to 4 bedrooms. Is pay now $3.99
a month?
It says pay now $399
Oh.
or as low as $24 a month. This is 2 to 4 bedrooms, 1 Eero, if that's how you pronounce it, and
Yeah.
2 beacons.
So that's the package I installed.
Then
Was
they have a 1 to 2 bedroom, 1 Eero and 1 beacon, $299 or as low as $18 a month. Then they have 3 to 5 bedroom home, 3 Eeros, pay $499 or as low as $30 a month.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, they didn't need any more than these 2 beacons and the base station. That 3, the $399 or the $349.
So per month then, $30 a month.
No,
I never did find the monthly price.
No, you can buy one or it says pay now. So here's
So,
one that says.
the point of the mesh network is that when you put this together, you've got this in place, then you get to an area in your house that has very lousy coverage. You just go out and buy one more beacon or one more Euro, and you put that in the area that needs better Wi-Fi, and it increases the quality of Wi-Fi in general in that whole area. Every time you add one, you get better Wi-Fi coverage throughout your house.
Right.
And this will become a thing as we are streaming 4K content from wireless DVRs in the house. That will be using up your Wi-Fi bandwidth. This is going to be the kind of solution. You're going to be putting these in corners of your house, creating better and better Wi-Fi for your house.
Well, I don't think you'd want to try to add on. I think you'd want to get the most for your money because this is a 1 to 2 bedroom is $299, a 2 to 4 is $399. But if you go to add one, the add-on is $149.
Well,
so you should try and.
You can shop in that add one market though. I mean, you're gonna find those products are gonna start coming out on eBay. They're gonna start coming out on Amazon. You're gonna I mean, they will be competing with themselves the way everything else is now. You could buy the three unit. I mean, I still think it's very expensive, but I like where it's going with this because you could stick them in a place like this and go, hey, we don't have enough Wi-Fi back in the pool area. And so in the bar, they just buy one more, plug it in, mobile app, add this to my network, it's on. Now we got better Wi-Fi back there. We need it out in the parking lot. Stick one over here on this wall, mobile app, add it to my network.
So just stronger Wi-Fi, that's it, right?
In essence, that's where you end up.
How about security off property?
Still an issue. Everything's still suffering from the same Wi-Fi issue in that respect.
Okay, so what did you put in here?
Okay, so there's a cable that runs to here from the fiber optic.
Those little boxes that they had plugged in.
Right. There's a cable that comes into here, and that box is at the end of that cable. And that box is broadcasting a completely new Wi-Fi pocket here than in the other part of the restaurant.
They only needed this 5 years ago.
Right. They're going for cameras. I'm not looking at it right now, but they are. Their goal is to get into security cameras, to get into thermostats. And we were talking about security earlier. This stuff is going to become a really big deal. We'd mentioned a couple clubs back that what's become big are these security light bulbs, right? They have webcams built into them, right? So you take this a step farther, they could offer security cam light bulbs for outside motion sensing, which also make your Wi-Fi more robust. Yeah. Chester, are you leaving before saying what you wanted to say? Did you want to say one more thing before you get out of here?
Yes, and this relates to Telmex. You recall either last week or the week before that, I mentioned that my cloak box had to be rebooted all the time.
Yes.
And Wiptopia, which has an outstanding customer service, solved that problem. And it has to do with the interruptions that are occurring in the telephone or the Wi-Fi signal coming from the provider like Megacable or Telmex. If there's any blip at all, it won't affect your TV or your phone, but it will affect your router.
Okay.
So what I did at Wiptopia's instruction was when I'm offline, I went into the router and set it so it would reboot automatically every morning at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering if you can get into the Telmex router and have it do the same thing.
Well, there may be, depending on the Telmex router, there may be, depending on the model, something like that available. It seems like I've seen something like that in the fiber optic routers. I know the one I have doesn't have something like that. But at the same time, the problem that I've been reporting is an occurrence at a particular time. It's like all of a sudden, and you haven't lost your circuit, but you have lost your internet. It's like you've lost authentication to use that circuit. And the only fix we've found is to unplug it, wait a few seconds, plug it back in, and let it go through that boot up. So what would be nice is an option where it says, hey, it's like, is internet there? Yeah, internet's there. Hey, is internet there? Yeah, internet. No internet. Okay, I'm going to reboot.
Automatically reboot.
That's the kind of thing that we would need. And still it's a kludge because it should just be there. It's a phone company. They should just have internet ready to go. It should just work.
Well, my problem was not my Buffalo. The problem was
Mega Cable, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So I just...
Well, good to know. Good feedback from your customer service on Ytopia. Going back to the mesh network for a second, here's the stumbling blocks I had with it. I told you about my problems getting it set up when I was testing it. I bring it over to my customer's house and start setting up. I run into completely new problems. I'm like, this is supposed to be like an iDevice. This is supposed to be so easy to set up. And here I am calling customer support again. And I did. I called them on Skype. And there was a couple of times during the conversation, I'm like, oh, okay, we're good. And they wouldn't let me hang up. And I'm glad they didn't, because we had stumbling blocks all the way through the setup.
Why was there a difference?
Why? Well, I think that it's too new a product. Actually, I told you guys about my experience with the button. The app changed during that experience. Just like within 24 hours, they pushed out a new version of their app, which I think is based on my feedback that I'm dealing with this problem. There was a new app. When I brought the device over less than a week later, there was already a new app out to set up the device. And it was not responding to the new app. And I get on the phone with them. Now, to their credit, they asked for the serial number. They asked for it to be connected to their modem, to your DSL modem with a cable, and they were able to immediately find the box. They were able to control the box. They were able to set up the settings that I was trying to set up. They were able to get everything back on a smooth path, so that the rest was them just holding my hand, babysitting my way through the rest of the steps. But there was some real fundamental customer support issues that were needed to be addressed during the install. So it's not ready for novice to hook up themselves, even though that's the market they're targeting. It could be in a month, could be in 6 months. This product, you pull it out of the box and any idiot's able to set it up. But when I'm trying to set this product up, they're still pulling it together. The good thing to know is that they're immediately ready to help you. And they were able to see every device that I was trying to set up. They were able to tell me the moment that it was ready to go. And I was looking at the app going, hey, this thing's still spinning. And it's like, yeah, unfortunately, the app is the last one to know whether this stuff is working. I can see it's working. You can connect to it right now and use the internet, but the app doesn't know it's working.
One additional comment in terms of customer service, and I've had this happen several times. Instead of trying to get on the telephone and talk this stuff out, go to the chat room, and you get almost an immediate response, and they're very helpful, and they'll email you, and the chat room works where the phone won't.
Yeah, it really is the world we're living in now, is this chat.
Unless you get on one that doesn't have a chat. Well, yeah, that's happening.
Well, and you should when you're chatting with them, you should insist that, can you send me a copy of this? A good chat would have a feature for that. It would just be the way they do things. When I was dealing with ASUS, I was disappointed to find out they had no feature for sending me a copy of the chat. And so I chastised them for that. And I made my own copy of the chat so that I had a written record of it. And one of their supervisors saw me chastising them, and they went out of their way to do a cut and paste and send me the chat, because they didn't want me on the internet saying bad things about ASUS customer service. I haven't seen it changed. I just saw them they were doing damage control at that point. Yeah.
I never remember what they tell me to do.
Yeah, let's have another. Have you done the Apple support app again since we looked at it?
Yeah, it's just it's just reporting stuff. It's not.
But you were able to take like a diagnostics log and send it off to them? Were you able to do that?
Nope.
Okay, so we had talked about finding out your battery health if you have one of the more recent iPhones, because that's an issue right now in the news. And what Apple is telling you is that you can download the Apple Support app, and it has a facility in there for doing diagnostics. It creates a log that you can send off to Apple, and their customer support people are supposed to look at it and send you back feedback on the health of your phone. And Sid looked at it, and I looked at it, and we couldn't figure out how to get it to work.
What Topia did that on my Buffalo.
Yeah? You were...
I downloaded the log and then
Okay.
Because they have too much.
So this is supposed to be easier than that, Chester. This is supposed to be push this button, it's an app on your device. And you push this, wait for response. And we're like, what do we push? Where is it? We start digging through it. What? I think that it's a red herring. I think that they've put out this app and they still don't have the app ready to go.
You have to make a reservation to get a new battery. And, reservation. And so I said, okay, I'll be in Tucson in June. I'd like to make a reservation. Oh, too soon.
Yeah, you're too soon to make a reservation. You have to do it like the week you're going to show up at the store.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
I'd rather stay away from
2 years ago for my iPhone 5, I thought my battery was going, so I ordered one on Amazon. I still have it at home. I haven't installed it. So, and that was only like $12 or something.
Okay, that's a great segue into something I should mention. I was just working on an iPhone 4S that somebody brought to me because it would not boot up. They were convinced it was full of garbage and they just needed it reset. It was the reset it couldn't do. They could not do a full reset because it didn't have a genuine Apple battery in it.
Well, I didn't ever put it in, and I'm still using the one that was in it originally. I just plug it in more frequently.
You can use that new battery. In the 5 has the same issue, that the phone actually checks to see if it's a genuine Apple battery. You can use a third-party battery, but not during a reset. And so you need to hang on to your original battery in case there's ever a time the phone needs to be reset, and pull out the old the third-party battery, put in the original battery, do the reset, and then you can go back to your third-party battery again.
Oh.
It does not appear to be an issue with iPhone 6s and above. And I know it's not an issue with the old 4s and older. It became an issue with the iPhone 4S and the iPhone 5s. I think Apple was just, stepping over that line of what's appropriate, and they got caught, and so they dialed back their thinking on it. Now, the newer phones, the 6s, 7s, 8s, and 10 still suffer from a problem where if you go to an unauthorized, or you do it yourself to change a battery, there's a good chance you will lose your fingerprint sensor, because the fingerprint sensor is part of the Secure Enclave, which is a whole separate set of silicon chips on the phone that's intended to fortify the security on the phone. From a hardware perspective, it keeps track of each component in the phone and recognizes if it's been changed out. Now, this doesn't include the battery at this point. What it does include, though, is the idea that something's changed. And the idea that something has changed is enough for it to go, no, we're turning off the fingerprint sensor because this phone's been compromised. If you go to what do they call it? An authorized battery replacement. Now I've lost my train. My whole vocabulary, just my train of thought derailed everywhere. Give me a sec.
Welcome to our
If you go to an authorized reseller and repair shop, then they have the ability to put in, well, first of all, they'll put in a genuine battery, but they also have the ability to reset the Secure Enclave so you don't lose the ability of using your fingerprint reader for security. So, yeah, there you go. Lots of Apple nonsense. Well, we have dialed down to a small group. Look, if you're watching the camera, it looks like we have an empty table. Here, there's still people here, people. People have stayed till the end, but it is time to go. The back row is still here. That's because I put super glue on those chairs so that they would not leave too soon. But this has been the San Carlos Computer Club. I am Scott Stimpson, and if you guys have computer problems, I feel very sad for you and want to help you out. I have the solutions, and I hope you call my office locally at 226-0209. Get a hold of me through our website at internationalcs.net or contact me directly, scott@internationalcs.net. If you love our computer club, which I'm sure you do because we all do, you guys can see it at scclub.org. I put videos up there. I post a podcast you can find in Google Play. You can find it in the iTunes store or anywhere that you get your podcasts. You'll probably find us. Just search for the San Carlos Computer Club. This is it. We're done till next Tuesday. Tech on. Have an awesome week. See you guys.